The Vatican has been called the seat of an ancient Roman cult whose leaders are bloodthirsty Satanists who've been involved in everything from child sacrifice to burning people alive. The pontiffs of the Church have also been accused of demonic worship and of only forcing their lowest-level priests into celibacy, which the Bible says nothing about. The word pontiff comes from the ancient pre-republican title of Pontifex Maximus. This was an ancient position controlled by a handful of ruthlessly powerful Roman families. In the days of the Roman Republic, the Pontifex Maximus was the high priest of the cult of Magna Mater, also known as Cybele. These were, according to the legends, cultists who enjoyed sacrificing people to their demonic gods. When the Republic shifted to an empire, religious leaders still held great sway in the political landscape. These were pagan high priests who acted as community leaders throughout the Roman Empire. And yes, they allegedly dabbled in human sacrifice and even cannibalism. When Christianity became popular, the pontiffs who'd been ruling over the cult institutions began to rule over what would become the Roman Catholic Church. Although some scholars believe demonic worship and secret child sacrifices lasted all the way until at least 1057 AD. Pope John XII did unspeakable things when he sat on the throne at the Vatican. He got the job because this was a time when you could pay your way to the top of the church. In the few years he controlled the church, he became notorious for turning the sacred office of God into a party house where he hosted. He was accused of assaulting his sisters and his younger niece, for sleeping with his own family members, and even for murdering cardinals. The Pope was also said to have castrated people he didn't like. It was rumored he refused to make the sign of the cross, leading many to believe John wasn't just ignorant about religion, but actively working against God. He allegedly turned the papal palace into a brothel and did whatever he wanted. Pope John XII dropped dead from a stroke at the age of 27 while he was in bed with a married woman. Elizabeth Barton, also known as the Nun of Kent, was born in 1506 AD. We know nothing about her early life other than that she was illiterate and had no formal education. She became a domestic servant at the age of 19, then fell under the spell of an unknown sickness. During her mysterious ailment, Elizabeth made a number of predictions that allegedly came true later on. She was then commissioned at the behest of Archbishop William Warham, who wanted to question her. The church concluded that Elizabeth was indeed having genuine visions, and with the support of the church behind, she became almost as famous in England as the king himself. King Henry VIII was in the middle of trying to divorce his wife Catherine of Aragon. He was also trying to distance himself from the Roman Catholic Church, the beginning of the English Reformation. But Elizabeth strongly opposed the newly established Church of England, and so suddenly her prophecies became political. She was telling everyone that if King Henry remarried, he would die within just a few months and go to hell. The king had his agents spread rumors through England that she was engaging in immoral relationships with priests and was mentally unstable. After these rumors fermented and Elizabeth lost her popularity, she was arrested in 1533 AD, and as a result, she was executed. Pope Alexander VI was the worst pope in history. He became the head of the Catholic Church on August 11, 1492 AD. He would only serve as the ruler of the Papal States until his death 11 years later in 1503 AD, and he only came into his position because he was born into the extremely prominent Borgia family, a bloodline who had ties to Rome going back countless centuries. As a member of the Borgia family, Pope Alexander used his power and position to put his own family in as advantageous a position as possible. He also did a bunch of other terrible things, like fathering multiple children with his mistresses. Pope Alexander issued papal bulls, which gave the right to the Spanish crown in the newly discovered land in the Americas. Pope Alexander essentially said that Spain had permission from God to not only take all the land they found in the New World for themselves, but also to enslave its people. Pope Sylvester II was supposedly a sorcerer who was waited on by his own personal demons, who also allegedly helped him become the Pope in the first place. Pope Sylvester was born in France in 946 AD. He was sent to a Benedictine monastery as a small child and grew to be an excellent student. Then, in his adult years, he studied extensively in Spain. Pope Sylvester ultimately became the tutor for the son of Holy Roman Emperor Otto I, which gained him political connections, who, in 999 AD, chose him to become the next pope. Unfortunately for Sylvester, the Italians revolted against imperial rule just 2 years later. Emperor Otto III died at the young age of 21, and Sylvester II followed soon after. It wasn't until Sylvester was dead that the rumors began to spread. Cardinal Bino accused Sylvester of being the first in a line of popes who were magical sorcerers. He said that Sylvester had a close relationship with a demon who helped him get into power, but the demon then tricked him and killed him. People were still talking about Sylvester and how he learned to call spirits up from hell 200 years later. The Vatican has a deep history with the occult and blasphemous spiritualization that goes back centuries. The pinecone statue is called the Pignone. The statue is a piece of Roman artwork from 1800 years ago. It's a whopping 12 feet, 3.6 meters tall, and was originally constructed near the baths of Agrippa. Archaeologists suspect the giant pine cone once decorated the temple of Isis, where in the early days of Christianity, Romans still gave praise to the Egyptian gods. It was in 1608 AD that the massive pine cone statue was placed in the courtyard. Most scholars agree the pine cone is a representation of the pineal gland, an important part of the human brain. The pineal gland is often associated with the third eye and human enlightenment. The symbol likely originated long ago in the pagan world with the worship of the demonic Israel deity named Baal, and was later used by worshippers of Cybele. There are over 500 Black Madonnas spread throughout the world. These small black statues can be found in chapels and cathedrals all the way from the mountains in Switzerland to the grand churches of Mexico. They're carved from wood or painted on stone, and most of them appeared under mysterious circumstances between the 11th and 15th centuries AD. Some call the Black Madonna the counterpart to the Virgin Mary. Some have named her the Queen of the Earth, and others even believe she represents an ancient fertility goddess and has nothing to do with God or Jesus Christ. Many scholars have theorized that the Black Madonna has its origins in ancient pagan shrines, where people once worshipped goddesses such as Diana, Artemis, or Isis. Black Madonna may even be a representation of an elder power, a nameless feminine force. There's a theory that says there's an archive of secret knowledge and lost ancient wisdom hidden beneath the Vatican. It all has to do with the Great Library of Alexandria. It was said that the library, which was originally dedicated to the 9 goddesses of arts and sciences, contained magical wisdom that had been passed down for untold centuries. It's likely that only a small part of the collection was damaged and the rest was transported to Rome. It's believed the rest of the sacred scripts and secret texts were divided between Mount Athos in Greece and St. Catherine's Monastery in Egypt. One rumored book is something called the Red Dragon, or the Gospel of Satan. This is said to be the most powerful black magic grimoire in existence. Rumor has it the grimoire was written by the devil himself. St. Botolph's Church in the marshlands of Lincolnshire, England, dates back to the 13th century AD. The church has been standing for almost 800 years. In modern times, people have reported seeing the ghosts of monks and strange lights appearing when the sun goes down. This once holy sanctuary is now known as the Demon Church. It's been a preferred location for Satanists to perform dark magic rituals since at least the 1970s. The stone walls are even stained with the blood from sacrificed chickens. The church was originally built in an extremely remote location, most likely to enhance the spiritual nature of the building. It's unclear if this was happening in the Middle Ages, but it's definitely still happening today. In 2004, the BBC interviewed the local rector, Canon Stephen Holdaway. He said Satanists were painting the pillars black, performing animal sacrifices, and marking the stones with strange symbols. There were even groups of witches that gathered here and dug up graves. The Second Apocalypse of James is an ancient Gnostic text and part of the New Testament Apocrypha. If it was up to the Vatican, they'd undoubtedly erase all existence of this mysterious piece of literature. It's part of the Nag Hammadi Library, a collection of extremely early Christian texts uncovered in the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi. It starts with James discussing the revelation he received after obeying Jesus. James claims in the text that before Jesus was crucified, he revealed to him secret knowledge that nobody else had possession of. James also explains about the false rulers, those who would use evil schemes and commit violence to exercise an unjust dominion over the world. Most scholars have interpreted this as meaning the early rulers of the church. At the end of the mysterious text, James is stoned to death by the very people he tried to warn of the coming apocalypse.